like to welcome Charlie Banks, who is joining us today from Venture South.
Good morning,
And
guys.
yeah, and I'm happy to just give a little context here, Charlie, before you dive into it, and do want to ask all of the mentors. We realize very well that we keep throwing forms at you guys, so it's the best way to get specific questions answered quickly. So we understand that we're constantly throwing forms, but we really appreciate you taking the time to do that. It just helps with our communication. If there's a better way of getting those answers from everybody, please let us know. But thank you so much. So I wanted to share something that had come up in some conversations before with mentors, and this idea of the different ways to invest in companies, or to at least understand the relationship that founders have with investors. And one of the best groups to really talk about that is Venture South. So we've got here Charlie Banks from the Venture South team to give us a little bit of an intro on what Venture South is, how they approach their relationships with founders, and really just provide an opportunity for anybody who wants to learn more about Venture South to be able to ask them some questions. So with that, just to tee it up a little bit, Charlie, feel free to take it away and tell us a little bit more about Venture South.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate the opportunity. It's good to see some familiar faces, especially my good buddy Spencer. Hadn't seen Spencer in a long time, so Spencer, good to see you, buddy. So yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, I've enjoyed working with Juan and Mac Lackey and some other folks in Charlotte we've been building out this Venture South group in the Charlotte area. And one thing Venture South does is that what we've created is this rather large syndicate of these community-based angel groups. So to give you a little bit of the history of Venture South, we've been doing this since 2008, early 2009. And the nexus is that there was a group of investors in Greenville, South Carolina, that got together and wanted to aggregate some capital to support this newfound phenomenon of incubators and accelerators. So the Iron Yard was just starting up in Greenville, and they wanted to support what they were doing. So a group of investors got together. They hired a guy named Matt Dunbar that was finishing up business school at Stanford, wanted to get back to the East Coast, and so this group came together and they took the next couple of years and built out the diligence templates, the pipeline generation process, just overall kind of built out the structure of the group. Fast forward a couple of years, that group grew from a couple folks to a couple dozen. But one thing they couldn't really do is they couldn't write a check size big enough to make an impact on a company. So they were having to syndicate with other high net worth individuals and other groups and funds and firms and things of that nature. That's about the time I had exited the company and started going to these meetings as a member. And I put my entrepreneur hat back on pretty quickly and said, we ought to take what you guys have done here in Greenville, and it's impressive. And these, they were starting to grow, but we should replicate that in other markets across, at the time, just South Carolina. So we formed the South Carolina Angel Network and right around 2011. Quickly realized what we were doing, we were taking this model and replicating that in other markets, was resonating in some other places. So we rebranded Venture South pretty quickly, and then have since built that into, we're in 16 different locations now. We've got over 350 members. We've invested right at $60 million now in 80 companies, most of which have been invested in the last handful of years. We do it, we kind of run it. We kind of run the group like you would see in a later stage venture fund. We just structure it and we process it like, a syndicate of angel groups. We're incredibly active. Last year we did 30 deals. In a typical year, we would do 8 to 10 new companies. And then we do a lot of follow-on investings in the existing portfolio. So that in the 80 companies we've invested in, we've done that 180 times. So it's an incredibly active group. We've got a big staff. And there's really two ways that folks engage with Venture South as a mentor or an investor. The two ways: we have an active model and a passive model. I'll start with the active model. Like I said, feel free just to stop me and ask questions, but the active model looks like this. So an individual investor, a mentor, what have you, wants to get involved in the asset class. They pay an annual membership, and there's no obligation to ever make an investment past that. If you see one you like, The minimum is only $5,000. There's no maximum. And we run a pretty tight process to help aggregate that capital to make those investments in the companies. So that's the active model. Again, you're paying an annual membership. There's no obligation to invest. If you see one you like, the minimum is $5,000, and there's no maximum. And we'll do, like I said, last year we did 30 different deals. So you can really build a fairly risk mitigated large portfolio of these companies and really kind of take advantage of this portfolio math. And I'll tell you a little bit about how we approach portfolio math as an asset class. So, this is, you guys know this probably better than most. This is a risky game. This is not, these are not super safe investments, if you will. So think of it this way: the kind of the oversimplification of a portfolio math and angel investing looks like this. So 50% of the deals that you do are likely to fail. 25% are going to return your money, and then 25% is where you're going to get those outsized returns. So if you do that in a professionally curated environment, meaning that there's a professional process, there's actual diligence, and you're have post investment monitoring, you may have board service, all that. So if you bundle all that together, you should be in that 25+% return. If like I said, if you're doing this in a professionally curated environment. Where people get tripped up in this is that they want to do this, they may be mentoring a company, they're passionate about what the founder's doing, but maybe the passion is a little stronger than the diligence. Let's put it that way. So you may make one or two investments, maybe a couple, maybe a handful. And then they fail, you lose your money, and you really never do it again. You say, this just isn't for me. So what we encourage folks to do is to really go into this knowing that you've got to do this in a way that the portfolio math is in your favor. The math doesn't really work out in your favor until you're in 8, 10, 12 deals. That's where you can really start enjoying that portfolio math. So what Venture South does is gives folks the ability to build these large portfolios of these early stage companies. That's the active model. We then have a passive model that acts more like a fund, more of a traditional fund, but it's more of a traditional index fund. So you can put money into this fund. The fund only invests in the deals that the active investors have chosen to invest in. So it gives you this forced diversification across indexing across the decision of a lot of really smart people that have chosen to put their own personal money into the deal. So the fund will give you, exposure to 20 to 25 companies fairly quickly. And that really lets you take advantage of that portfolio math. So that's the two ways folks engage. We've got a lot of folks that do both. You can be an active investor and a passive investor, or you can just do either or. But as a member of Venture South, there's varying degrees of ways that folks engage. So you can be a member. You can write checks in every single deal if you like. You can sit on boards. You can sit on a formal and informal advisory boards. You can take part in due diligence. There's just a lot of ways. There's education, there's networking, a lot of ways to engage. Or you can be entirely passive and do nothing and just put money into the asset class. So Juan, I can stop there. Those are kind of the two ways. Igor, if you got any questions, I see some questions.
Yeah, Charlie, there's a few questions. So Nick, why don't you unmute and start, and then Dan, you could follow up with yours.
Yeah, Charlie, when you meet founders of these companies, what are the top 2 or 3 factors you look at before going to the next step?
So we're looking at 20 or 30 deals a month, and we only invest in 2% of the deals we look at. So it's incredibly hard to get angel capital. I think everybody understands that, and especially in the Southeast where we're just historically underserved in terms of capital. So to answer your question though, Nick, is that we look at the team and the exit strategy. That's my off the cuff quick reaction to what we look at. So when we're taking these companies through diligence, we are scoring them on 10 different criteria. And we have a scoring rubric that we follow, and that we've done that since day one. So we're able to calibrate the scoring against everything we've ever invested in and brought through the process. So when we look back on that and we look at the successes that we've had 19 exits in the portfolio. So, we're actually doing fairly well in terms of returns. Our track record is strong. But if we look at the ones we've exited and look at the back of those diligence reports, we notice the trend is that when we put a lot of emphasis on the team and the exit strategy, that's where we're kind of driving those returns. So we score the team, the exit strategy highest. So that's probably the best way to answer that, Nick.
Good, thanks.
Yep. Good question.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, just thanks so much for the input. I guess two questions. One I put in the chat is what are some of the primary differences compared to the Charlotte Angel Fund? And then the second question I had is, are your portfolio companies or the companies you're invested in all based in this region, or I know the focus is on the South. I'm just sort of curious geographically where your focus is.
Yeah, good question. I'm gonna answer the second part first, and I'm gonna kind of put on the economic development hat for a bit. So when we talk to communities and angels that are interested in investing in local companies, our thesis has always been, and the message is that and it's kind of a hard thing to say because it comes off kind of rough, but we're not interested in building ecosystems, right? We're interested in investing in the best deals across the entire region. And our region in which we invest it's a broader Southeast base. So think DC to New Orleans to Miami to Nashville. So it's a true Southeast footprint. But when we have folks tell us, I really only want to do this to support, fill in the blank ecosystem, right? Well, we say to them is that's not the way to think about this. What we want investors doing is we want them conditioned to the asset class, right? So we want them investing in the best deals across the entire region so that they have success, so that they can, actually make money doing this. This has to be 100% returns focused, right? So that when you make those returns, you're able to recycle the capital. The recycled capital is what makes the impact on the local ecosystems. Because once you have recycled capital, you're effectively playing with almost house money. The house money is that risk profile is significantly different than taking an allocation of your, self-directed IRA, whatever it may be. So that's important to understand. So that's our broader footprint. And I want to make that, I'll kind of use that to talk about kind of the economic development implications of what we're doing. Your other question about the Charlotte Angel Fund, Juan may be able to fill you in with more facts on what those guys are doing. I'm a big fan of what they're up to, and they obviously have a more Charlotte focused. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. They've made great investments. We've done a lot of co-investing with them. They are a committed capital fund, kind of like our index fund, and they're somewhat of a hybrid model. So you can commit capital to that fund. And then the fund LPs then collectively decide to invest that dollars. So it's kind of a hybrid between an active and a fund model. And again, Juan or Igor or any of the other, I know Spencer knows that group real well too. So you guys may be able to answer a bit more of that better than I can.
Yeah, hey, Charlie, thanks. We've got two more questions and I wish we had time to get to them, and we've only got 2 minutes. So Igor, if you want to nod your head or let me know, should we address one question and try to squeeze it in there?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right, Charlie, this will be your elevator pitch. So now we're going to invest in you here. So Raghu, do you want to unmute yourself and just ask your question there?
Yeah, thanks. So the question, hi, my name is Raghu, and I used to work with a venture capitalist in Bay Area, but what I heard at that time, the average success rate is 5 to 7% for startups. I'm not sure what is the success rate, especially in this area. That's question number one. And what are the top 3 areas that you invested in the last couple of years?
So I didn't hear, I don't think I heard all of that. So let me try to answer it. Let me try to answer the best I can. I think what you asked is effectively on kind of our track record, kind of on the success rate of what we're up to. And I'll tell you, so, we've invested at 178 rounds of capital at this point. We've had 30 rounds of capital exit, and we're at a little over 4 times our money and a right under 50% IRR. So our track record is strong in that regard. You might have been asking kind of the
question was, what are the top 3 areas you guys invest in?
Top 3 areas. And
verticals or any specificity.
Yeah, so we're pretty agnostic. You know, we'll kind of invest with the tide. So I mean, we keep an eye on you know, a lot of the M&A activity. You know, one thing we don't do is consumer products. We're just not a really good group for the consumer product type investing. But I mean, we've literally got everything from electric buses to organic composting to battery technologies. I mean, we've kind of got a little bit of everything. So that's a tough one to answer. I mean, I'm happy to send you the website and you'll see the entire portfolio and kind of get a better feel of it. But it's pretty broad.
Thank you.
Wow, right on time. Excellent. All right, Charlie, we're going to invest in you. Thanks.
I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Love what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for joining us this morning.
All right, take care.